I may be vegan, but I am possibly the most unpreachy vegan that you will ever meet. Like, I am not going to judge you if you have leather car seats and eat cheese. Like, that's none of my business. Now, I'm talking about this because this is how the movie The Farm from 2018 first appeared on my radar. Like, if PETA, the animal activist group, made a horror movie, this sounds like the movie that they would make. While travelling through the countryside, Nora and boyfriend Alex stop off for a night at an off-road bed and breakfast. When they wake up, they find that they are trapped in cages like animals in a farm managed by mass people to supply meat and milk. As always here on my channel, I'm going to watch the movie off camera, so that way if you still want to watch the movie The Farm from 2018, nothing will have been spoilt for you. Nobody wants to watch a movie that you have just watched somebody else watch from start to finish.
Anybody get some warm milk?
Some of you might say that I watched a cannibal movie not 2 weeks ago, and to that I say, hi, welcome to my channel. I watch a lot of cannibal, zombie and death game movies, and a lot of movies about food, it seems, as well. This movie though, considering it wants to call itself a cannibal movie, is not a cannibal movie because at no point in this movie is anybody eaten, which is the entire point of a cannibal movie. It has not gone over my head that the lead characters in this, Nora and Alex, are named after the actor and actress that play them, and Nora is also the casting director. Like, I get this was on a budget, but she's not a great actor, so surely they could have found somebody else? There are a lot of strange conversations in this movie, and not in a, there is something suspicious going on here, or this person has a motive kind of way. It's pretty obvious the kind of people that live in this weird little town. Like, you just look at them and they're the type of people that scream, people are delicious. There is this one scene in the very beginning with a woman in a broken down car, and it makes absolutely no sense and has no influence on the plot whatsoever. Like, you could take it out and it wouldn't ruin the plot in any kind of way. It's there for filler. But this movie has a lot of filler, and I'm going to come back to this, considering that this movie is so short, being an hour and 20 minutes. The first 25 minutes, nothing happens. And I mean absolutely nothing happens. And the first thing that kind of happens is around pretty much the exact on 28-minute mark. And I'm going to describe to you what happens at this point, and I'm going to try and do this in an incredibly spoiler-free way, because it's one of the only interesting things that actually happens in this movie. Now, this movie is about a farm that keeps humans for meat and for milk, and for somebody who is biologically female to produce milk, they need to be at least 16 to 22 weeks pregnant. And in the livestock industry, this is normally done through artificial means because it's required on such a large scale. You get my point. I hope this makes sense. Basically, the women are treated as cows and everybody else is treated as pigs. Like, that's the basic, simple breakdown of this movie. There's a scene with a baby in this, and I wouldn't necessarily say that I was surprised when this scene happened, because it is based on the meat and dairy industry after all, but it's probably the only other scene in the entire movie that I would say is kind of shocking and kind of pushes the agenda that this movie is going for, that, you know, the meat and dairy industry is bad. Like, I know, I am a vegan, I'm aware of this, and a lot of people who aren't vegan are also aware of this. I have issues with the entire character of Andrew. I will not go into details about this because I don't think I am the right person to talk about why I have problems with Andrew. I will say that it is obvious that he has some kind of learning disability, but I wouldn't want to say what I think it is. And the thing with his learning disability is they use it to try and justify some of the things that he does, and I don't think that that's right. I can count on one hand the number of shocking things that happen in this movie, and I don't even need all of the fingers to do so. Like, nothing happens. The man in the pig mask looks very fancy in his poncho that is clearly not a bin bag when they zoom in on it, because the number of times that you see him just walking around the farm as filler, like, I don't need to watch the same person in a trash bag walk around just to help you try and move the plot around because you haven't filled the script out with enough stuff, and you've now decided that this is how you're going to pad out the movie rather than actually giving me any kind of substance. This is what I mean when I say that literally nothing happens in this movie. Maybe 10 minutes has got decent content, but this is an 80-minute movie. Like, I understand the basic concept of this movie, you know? The meat industry is bad, the dairy industry is bad, hence why we've got people as livestock and the animals are in the dominant position instead. And I saw on Letterboxd somebody say that, oh, this is a movie for vegans, and as a vegan, let me tell you now, like, this is not a movie for vegans. In fact, I don't think this is a movie for anybody, it's done so poorly. This plot is so lackluster, and it wastes any potential that it could have possibly had by choosing to say and do absolutely nothing. Without going into where it fits in the movie, the strongest visual in the entire film is the poster for this. That's what the image on the poster actually happens in this movie. So if you've seen the poster, you've seen the most surprising part of the movie. I have an issue with the sound in this movie, and the person that is in charge of it has clearly played far too much Spyro, particularly Spyro 2, Gateway to Glimmer / Ripto's Revenge, as the entire soundtrack is just a mashup of two levels. It is the levels Colossus and the levels Hurricos, both from the original area. It sounds like somebody is swinging on a rusty gate while somebody is chanting like ohms in the background. It's so bizarre. Like, I get that this like farm / compound is a little bit like a cult without no reason to be a cult. Like, but it's weird. It's such a bizarre choice. Do I think that you could take the basic concept of this movie and make a pure, straight up horror movie that is slightly disturbing and possibly a little bit controversial? Absolutely. But this movie isn't it, and the ending is fucking awful. Talk about an actual disappointing cop-out for an ending. The Farm is getting a 1 star, and this is me being generous because this movie had potential and it wasted all of it. I could talk about how none of the characters are fleshed out and how I couldn't care less if anybody lived or died in this movie. The fact that the farm is never actually explained, like, you don't know why it exists in the first place, but I'm not about to give this movie any more time, and I'm gonna move on to something else now instead, because this video would just be a rant if I kept going. So there you have it. There are my thoughts and my opinion to The Farm from 2018. If you have seen this movie, I would love to know what your thoughts are down in the comments section down below. If you didn't know, I am over on Instagram as well, where I post every single horror movie that I watch, not just the ones that I review here on YouTube. And I will be back on Friday with another solo movie review. Hopefully it is better than the one that I've just watched, because oh, 2 1-star movies in a matter of weeks. That's not a good sign. But until next time, bye.